Hello and welcome to Donington Park for highlights of the rearranged 750 Motor Club race meeting, the original having been snowed off in March. Today our focus is on Formula V, and I spoke to some of the drivers in the paddock to find out more. Ben Anderson, you're not only a Formula V racer, you're the national editor of Autosports, so you're well placed to tell us about Formula V's place in the national racing scene.
Yeah, I suppose so. Formula V is really an entry-level single-seater formula. It was launched originally, I suppose, as a German rival to Formula Ford in the 60s, and now it continues, having been revived in England by the 750 Motor Club, I think in the early 80s, as a club-level single-seater formula. So its place really is, I suppose, just below Formula Ford, a place to start out racing. We've had a few drivers come in, youngsters who've used it as a starting point to learn single-seater racing out of karts. We had Ashley Sutton 3 years ago, who'd done, I think, Super 1 road tax karting. Michael Epps, who's gone on to race in America now. But by and large, it's a clubman's formula really, and you've got a full range of drivers, from guys who are quite serious karters but didn't have the money to go on and do single-seater racing properly, down to your garden shed engineer who likes to come out and play it being a racing driver.
And is V well suited to cover all of those bases, do you think? I mean, tell us a little bit about the cars and what you can do as sort of maybe the person who's running a car for themselves or in a small team.
Yeah, I mean they're meant to be fairly basic cars. We're limited by some really old 60s technology. We've got the Beetle swing axle, we've got the Type 1 gearbox, obviously we've got the 1300 air-cooled engine, the beam at the front, the torsion leaf beam, and those things limit the car really. Everyone has to run those, but within the formula still you've got room to play, so you can build your own chassis around that, you can tune the engine, so there's kind of a bit for everybody. If you just want to come in and have a bit of fun and drive the car and not worry about it too much, there's options to do that. But if you're a guy who likes to tinker and play with the car a lot, you can do that as well. So it's kind of got a completely broad spectrum. So Craig Pollard, you're still relatively new to Formula V. Tell us how you got into it.
I came from 11 years of karting and sort of going around the local tracks, finding out about V, various people you can speak to, and then discovering that you can actually get a car for about £3,000, we decided to dive into it and sort of take a first season.
And how did that first season go? Was that more of a learning year?
That was definitely a learning year, yeah. We didn't know where we were going to go and how much we were going to put into V, but we discovered that last year if you wanted to get near the front of the pack you needed to be in a quicker, newer car, so we decided to change for this year.
Okay, so you're in the GAC this year, and how's that going for you?
Yeah, it's really good compared to driving a car which comes from 1995 last year. It's a completely different machine, loads faster down the straights, more aerodynamic, no bits sticking off it or anything, so yeah, it's great, really easy to learn in as well, so really good.
Absolutely. So is it something that you'd recommend maybe for other people coming into the sport from karting?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so few classes with single seaters that you can choose. This has got to be one of the lowest costs in the country. Definitely, it's great fun, great people to race with as well.
Ian Jordan with me. Ian, you're the man who's won Class B for the last few seasons, I think. Just tell us what Class B means.
Class B really is how Formula V was originally done. It's back to basics really. It's just your standard basic car that anybody can build. Yeah, it's anybody in his garage could just get the car together, standard carb, standard ignition. You haven't got to have any technical knowledge really, a little bit of mechanical knowledge, and then you can go racing, which is in this formula is very good fun.
So today it's rounds 7 and 8 of the Tillotson Formula V Championship. Coming into this weekend, it was Paul Smith that led the championship on 104 points, and he is on pole position. Graham Gant alongside him on the front of the grid. Martin Farmer, the former champion, and the Class B leader, Ian Jordan, on row 2. Ben Anderson, who we heard from there, he's on row 4 alongside Craig Pollard. Further back, Tim Probert, the Yorkshireman, a little bit disappointed, I should think, to be down in 14th position. Jack Wilkinson, we could see there on row 9. And towards the back of the field, Stephen Bailey, well, he had engine problems during qualifying. We'll see if he's out there. He should line up next to Rhys Bennett, though. Problems for the man who should have started on the front row of the grid. Graham Gant is in the pit lane as the race gets underway. We're on board with Jack Wilkinson, who started on row 9 of the grid. already he's trying to make a move past Daniel Burton in the AHS Challenger as they head up towards Redgate Corner for the first time. But a good start has been made there by Paul Smith. He is in the lead of the race. The rest of the field filtering their way through. There's the number 11 car of Ben Meludi, who started at the back of the grid after problems in qualifying. We'll watch for him making up places through the order. But there is the reigning champion and the championship leader. It was 10 round wins from 14 last season for Paul Smith. So far he has won 4 of the 6 this season. It wasn't a very good start though for Martin Farmer. Look, he lined up on row 2 and he's well back down the order now. He's got places to make up. You can just about see him in the background there at Schwantz Curve. But here are the front runners going through. Ben Anderson there, I think, in 4th position in the red car. The white car is Daniel Pitchford. He is in 5th place as this order is shaking out in the early part of the race. That is the 92 car you can see of Craig Pollard, the black and gold liveried car run by Bears Motorsport. On board with Peter Belzy here, and it's side by side for 2nd position, and he goes through, or does he? No, it's Ian Jordan that holds on to 2nd place there, down at Fogarty S's, and the Class B car running in P2 overall. Back on board with Jack Wilkinson in car number 87, the driver from Northampton. He's out in one of the Irish built Shanes. Side by side again there, looks like Ben Anderson trying to fend off Craig Pollard. Meanwhile Martin Farmer is making up places, I can see. There's the 17 car of Daniel Burton, and he is ahead of Jack Wilkinson after Wilkinson tried to get ahead of him at the start. There's Ben Anderson then, number 6, who's not had a great deal of good fortune this season, lying further down the championship than he would have liked, in 7th position with 65 points. Smith on 104. Failed to start the 2 races at Donington Park due to issues before the race started, as Pitchford makes up ground there, and he goes up to 4th position, and it's Pollard through to 5th, then Anderson 6th, and I think it's Martin Farmer there who's in 7th place now. Make that 6th, because with the red flash on his nose cone now, Martin Farmer is now ahead of the similar GAC of Ben Anderson. You can see the slightly different design of Ben Anderson's car with the side pods on the side of it. Into the pits comes Stephen Bailey. Well, we knew he had problems, engine problems during qualifying, and he's into the pit lane already, I'm afraid. There's Peter Belzy in the Spider, which is green for this season. It's been orange for a number of years now. Steve O, the Yorkshire driver, you can see in the number 8 car, making up ground there on, I think it was Ben Anderson. As look, Martin Farmer in car number 4 is now ahead of his teammate, number 92 Craig Pollard, in the front of shot, as Steve O looking to make up a position here as the car's turned in towards Redgate Corner. 53 there, the Red Storm, is Tim Probert, being a stalwart in Formula V for several seasons now. Came to racing relatively late. And Martin Farmer has got Peter Belzy in his sights. Belzy in 3rd position. Often been a front runner in this car, which is the ex-Jez Clark Championship winning machine. Don't see Peter out for every round, but he's usually there or thereabouts when he is, but he's lost out here to Martin Farmer. Well, what a great first couple of laps or so Martin has had. If it wasn't for the start, I'm sure he'd have been challenging Paul Smith for the lead. Not the first time this season though that Martin hasn't been able to get away successfully. Now we're looking to pull away from Peter Belzy, and should therefore be able to close in on Ian Jordan, who's in 2nd position. There's Ian now in car number 10, the driver from Kent, in the first of those Class B cars. And over the last few seasons, Ian has been by far and away the top Class B driver. Battles down the order as well. 22 is Greg O'Shea in the AHS Challenger, the green car, and the yellow number 88, well, that is Chris Wilshire in his Shane. A spin for the 2nd place man, Ian Jordan goes round, and that allows Martin Farmer through to 2nd position and Peter Belzy for 3rd. Well, I should think Ian Jordan will be kicking himself in the cockpit of that Shane that's been built by his father Dave. And Jack Wilkinson seems to be in trouble as well here. Alan Robinson has been able to drive past. Has Wilkinson got an answer? The two of them absolutely together into Goddards, but it looks like Jack's got that a little bit wrong, and Paul Taylor can go through. On the exit of the corner, while he carried more speed out of the corner, did Jack Wilkinson, so maybe he didn't get it wrong, maybe it was his plan all the time. He's back ahead of Taylor, now he's having a look down the inside of the AHS Dominator of Alan Robinson as they go into Redgate Corner, and I think he's made it through. Jack's certainly having a very exciting race, a bit further back down the order. And there's Peter Belzy, and Martin Farmer, the man from Sutton Coldfield, hasn't been able to make the escape that I thought he might. Meanwhile, look at this. It's a 3-car scrap for 4th, 5th and 6th position. The red car is Keith Farrance, who won the first of 2 races at Snetterton. That was on the 300 circuit. Daniel Pitchford in the white car. He won the second of those races. And that number 35 car is a familiar sight as they go on to their last lap. And Craig Pollard in the black GAC, number 92, well, he had his best finished on the Snetterton 300 circuit, 4th position. So this is the main fight in this race to be resolved. It's for 4th place. 5th place, I beg your pardon. Ian Jordan's just a little bit further up the road in 4th position. At the moment it's Keith Farrance that's heading it. And now Peter Belzy is right back on the tail of Martin Farmer. Could we have late drama here and a change for 2nd position down towards the hairpin? Farmer able to hold on for the moment. Steve O is out of his car, so that AHS Dominator has retired. So, Farrance, Pitchford, the 2 winners from Snetterton, and Craig Pollard as well in the gap. Up towards Coppice Corner they go then, the double apex right-hander. I was just sliding around a little bit through the first part of that double apex corner. And back down the Dunlop straight, over the crest of the hill. And rather than turning right, which they would on the national circuit, it's a left-hander here, and Daniel Pitchford dives down the inside into Fogarty. Does he go through? Yes, he does. And out of the race goes number 41, Paul Taylor, his GAC. It looks like the engine may have expired on that, as out of the final corner comes number 1, Paul Smith, and for the 5th time this season he takes the checkered flag in a Tillotson Formula V race. Still, the fight for 5th goes on. It's Pitchford, Farrance and Craig Pollard as well, the trainee accountant, making their way up to the left-hander at Goddard for the final time. It was side by side there, but Pitchford holding on. Can Farrance get a better run out of the corner on the inside? No, I don't think he can. And Pitchford it is that just holds on to take 5th position in a great fight there. So let's take a look at the results. It was another dominant win there for Paul Smith, his 5th of the season, and he took the checkered flag 8.35 seconds ahead of Martin Farmer, who was given quite a hard time towards the end by Peter Belzy. In 4th place was the Class B winner Ian Jordan, completing the top 6 Daniel Pitchford and Keith Farrance. Further back, 11th overall Jack Wilkinson, 2nd in Class B, Peter Studer 3rd in that particular division. So Paul likes to flag. It looked easy, but I guess it wasn't.
No, you know what I'm like. I always push 100%, whether we're on our own or we're fighting. Sort of monitoring the gap, and then I couldn't see no one anymore, so just sort of brought it home.
How is it driving the Grand Prix circuit rather than the national layout?
Yeah, it's good fun. The chicane coming onto the Melbourne Loop is pretty quick, so that's a bit of fun. The other 2 bits are a bit slippery, but you know, it's still good fun.
Okay, Martin Farmer, 2nd position, but what happened at the start?
Yeah, another Pembury. Had the same problem at Pembury, and I put it down to being my mistake and letting the revs drop too low. But on the green flag lap, I noticed there was a problem and a little bit worried about the start, rightly so. And yeah, the revs just dropped and it cut out. So I'm not sure what the problem is, but it made for an interesting race.
Well, it did. You managed to get through the field quite quickly. You soon got back up into 4th position.
Yeah, it was just, I thought I'd catch Pete and pull away quite easily, but he was hanging on to the back of me, giving me a hard time. So.
And it was 2nd in position in the end, because I think there was a moment for Ian Jordan as well.
Yeah, I think we would have had him anyway, but I would say that. But he spun off on the last corner, so he made it easy for us.
Peter Belzy, 3rd position, happy with that?
Yeah, good result from 6th on the grid. Good fun racing with Martin and Ian at the beginning. Yeah, really good fun.
Absolutely. Martin was just saying that he thought he might be able to shake you off, but not a bit of it seems.
Yeah, I think we both had a few moments at various times, and but neither of us managed to sort of capitalise on it. Martin lost or missed 3rd gear out of the Melbourne Loop. We got alongside, but I couldn't quite have him, so it was close.
Excellent, thank you. Join us again after the break when we turn our attention to action from the Sports Specials Championship. Time now for the first of two 750 Motor Club Sports Specials races, and pole position man Clive Hudson is unable to take up his grid slot in his Eclipse because of problems in qualifying, so it's going to be Ben Shoulders on his own on the front of the grid, Paul Boyd and Rob Johnston on road 2. As the lights go out, the race gets underway, and you can see Shoulders there on his own. It is Caterham on the front of the grid. Good start made too by Paul Boyd from the inside of row 2 in the yellow Eclipse. Rob Johnston, who leads the championship coming into this weekend, trying to go with him as they turn through Redgate Corner for the first time of what will be a 13-minute plus 1 lap race. There was one car that did not get away, and that was Patrick Mortel in the Rogue Xenon. But already a very big lead for the Caterham R400 of Ben Shoulders, and a change for second place because Rob Johnston threw on the inside of Paul Boyd at Craner Curves. Turning their way through the old hairpin then, you can see number 6, which is Henry Gordon Finlayson in his white and black Westfield, but already the Gulf liveried car of Ben Shoulders on his return to racing this car after some time out. He has a big lead, but it looks like Patrick Mortel's race has barely got off the start line. He is going to pull back into the pit lane, I would think, if he can get there. He's going to need some help from the marshals. Meanwhile, the leaders up at Coppice Corner, Rob Johnston and Paul Boyd, were dicing over second and third, but there's a battle going on here as well. That's the other Rogue Xenon involved. That's Leighton Norris, the turquoise coloured machine, and the purple car just ahead, well, that is Colin Benham in the STM Phoenix, and he leads Class B in the championship coming into this weekend for cars powered by the 1800cc Zetec engine. Field coming through then. This is towards the end of this first lap of this 2.5 mile Donington Park Grand Prix circuit loop. The pale green Eclipse you can see there of number 9. That's Leslie Wilson, the toaster driver. And she, like Rob Johnston and Paul Boyd, in 2-litre Duratec engine cars. Those two going side by side on the run up to Redgate, but scrapping going on down the order as well. The next car through looks to be Wayne Rothwell in his Tiger GTA. Then it's Nigel Brown in car number 4, the Silver Phoenix, the white and blue car. And a moment there for Harry Gordon Finlayson, and he has a spin around at the top of Redgate, and he loses a couple of places. Leslie Wilson and Colin Benham go through. Leighton Norris will probably be able to accelerate past him as well. So Boyd and Johnston have changed places again. Johnston having won Class A in all 4 rounds of the championship so far. We saw the action at Brands Hatch at Pembrey. Johnston took a double victory there, including memorably from the back of the grid, starting from the pit lane. He went from the back to the front in very wet conditions. The ex-Formula 2 stock car driver revelling in the wet, it seemed. He's in 3rd place on the road here though, behind the Paul Boyd Eclipse, car number 33. Boyd lying 2nd in the championship, or 3rd I should say in the championship as far as Class A is concerned coming into this weekend. Now the recovering Gordon Finlayson is challenging Leslie Wilson there as they head down the Dunlop Straight towards the Fogarty S's, the left and right flick. So down into the Melbourne hairpin, it's still Leslie Wilson ahead, one of the lady racing drivers with the 750 Motor Club here at Donington Park this weekend. She's still ahead of number 6, Harry Gordon Finlayson, who had that spin. Making their way along the straight towards the next left-hand hairpin at Goddard. Is Gordon Finlayson able to find a way through there? No, he's not. Good to see some of the Westfields racing in the Sports Specials Championship now. Of course, the Westfields used to have their own standalone championship. Here's a good fight. It's Nigel Brown, number 4, the Formula official for this championship, and number 12 is Anton Landon in the second of the Cyanas, the Cyana Mark II. Rob Johnston a bit further up the road, also in a Cyana. Anton Landon is in Class A, so is Nigel Brown. Both of them with these very reliable, quite powerful Duratec engines then. Brown takes the line for Fogarty. And now Leslie Wilson trying to keep Colin Benham at bay, but there's a tangle there, I'm afraid, as they come out of the old hairpin. Benham spins round on the grass. He's going to get going again, not too much damage to his car. Leslie Wilson is going to pull up against the tyre barrier, I would think, towards Schwantz Curve. I think the damage to her car is going to be too bad for her to continue. No, she is continuing on for the moment at least. So she rejoins the circuit, but no, a hand in the air, she realises that something is broken on the car and she's going to be out of the race. Here's this fight between Anton Landon and Nigel Brown down at the old hairpin, heading towards Schwantz Curve, and well, it looks like the front end goes around there on Nigel Brown's car, number 4. He has a moment onto the grass, but I think he's going to be able to resume the race. He has lost another position though, and another, and these spins can be very costly. Meanwhile, Ben Shoulders on the final lap of the race. Well, he's been absolutely dominant here. We don't see him out very often. He used to race in the 750 Motor Club's Caterham 7 Championship when that ran a few seasons ago. But Caterham's mostly very welcome into Class C of the Sports Specials Championship now, providing their brake horsepower is less than 340 per tonne. Shoulders comes out of the final corner, sees the checkered flag and takes it to win round 5 of the 750 Motor Club Sports Specials Championship. They can see Leighton Norris coming through a lap down, but who's going to be second? Scooting through on the inside there is Rob Johnston to get the place away from Paul Boyd, who's very sideways coming out of the corner. He fishtails alongside to Rob Johnston now, and who's going to get the verdict? It's just going to be Paul Boyd by 8/100ths of a second. Well, what a fantastic final corner or so of that race that was, in the battle for second position, and Rob Johnston defeated within Class A for the first time this season. So Ben Shoulders getting the win by more than 15 seconds in the end, but only 8/100ths split the next two cars, Paul Boyd and Rob Johnston. Anton Landon 4th, Wayne Rothwell 5th and 2nd in Class C. Winning Class B in his Raw Striker in 10th position overall was Paul Cooper. Ben Shoulders, no surprise, he got the fastest lap, 1 minute 44.86. Race 2 of the day for the 750 Motor Club Sports Specials Championship, and you'll see this time the bronze coloured car on pole position. That is the Eclipse of Clive Hudson. It's good to have him back for this second race of the weekend, which gets underway now. The field heads down towards Redgate Corner for the first time. Ben Shoulders there on the right hand side of your picture. Can he get the best start to this race? So trying to sweep in front of Clive Hudson there to take the lead of this race away from the pole position man who's got his car fixed, and he's done it. So Ben Shoulders goes through, Hudson is second. It looks like Paul Boyd is third, almost level pegging with Rob Johnston there, picking up where they finished off in the earlier race. Down towards the old hairpin for the first time then. It was a corner that caught out a few people during the earlier race. Let's hope there's no such incident this time through. I do notice, however, that Harry Gordon Finlayson and Leslie Wilson, who both had mishaps during the course of that first race, they haven't been able to take the grid for race 2. Up at McLean's, field streaming through, there's number 4, Nigel Brown, one of the stalwarts of this championship. There's Johnston going through, and he looks to be just ahead of one of the Tigers, I think that was, Steve Quenby possibly. There's Dave Roberts coming through in his Silver Phoenix. You can see 2 of the Rogue Xenons there, and they're both ahead of the Class B car of Colin Benham, Class B leader coming into this weekend. He makes a place on the Class C car, the less powerful car of Leighton Norris. Those Rogue Xenons derived from Toyota MR2 running gear. There's a battle going on. It is the 91 car of Steve Quenby that's lost it out there to Anton Landon through McLean's. Now the climb up towards Coppice Corner. The gradient here at Donington Park is one of the things that makes it a really attractive and challenging circuit. Out of Goddard's come these two. They're battling for 3rd and 4th positions overall. They're pretty much inseparable, aren't they, as they cross the line that time. I think it was just Johnston, number 82, with his nose in front. Is it still the case as they get to Redgate Corner? Yes, it is. So it's still Johnston there in 3rd place. In 4th place, it's Paul Boyd, therefore. And they're now making their way down the Craner curves, having a great fight here. And they've been doing this all day. Further up the road, Ben Shoulders and Clive Hudson have made their escape a little bit, and it's surprising really not to see Boyd and Johnston having gone with Hudson. Up through Schwantz now to the right-hander at McLean's. Paul Boyd still trying to find a way through. He's about 2 or 3 car lengths back here. as they make their way up towards the right-hander at Coppice Corner, which is an overtaking opportunity. Double apex corner, of course. Find the second apex now, and then down the straight. And they're pretty much side by side here, but the next corner's a left-hander. Boyd has gone through, though, already, as they pass, I think, possibly the Adrian Cooper car going into retirement. Johnston comes back down the inside into Fogarty-S's. I think he's gone through. Meanwhile, here comes Ben Shoulders out of Goddard's, just about to do a bit of lappery, and he sees the last lap board now. And there is Clive Hudson, so you can see the gap from first to second. It's more than 5 seconds. I don't think Shoulders' overall win is going to be in doubt, but don't forget, it's only his first race meeting of the season. This is the 6th round of the championship now, out of 14. Down towards Melbourne hairpin for the final time comes number 17 then, Ben Shoulders, in this Caterham R400. He's going to put a lap there on Colin Benham, I think, as he makes his way up towards the left-hander at Gollar's. They both move across to the right-hand side of the circuit. So you take the apex on the exit of the corner, and here comes Ben Shoulders, and for the second time today he takes the checkered flag in the 750 Motor Club Sport Specials Championship. Clive Hudson in the background comes through to take second position overall, and more importantly perhaps win Class A, because points are scored within each individual class. Now, there is still a battle to be decided here for 6th and 7th positions as well. It's for Class A Honours 2. It's between Nigel Brown and Anton Landon. Mark Cousins as well in his orange Westfield with the novice cross on the back of his car is in there as well. Up towards Goddard's they come, and Landon trying to get alongside Nigel Brown there, but he's not been able to make that work. Both of them very experienced drivers in this championship now, and they come through to take 6th and 7th, and just ahead of them in 5th place was Wayne Rothwell in his Tiger GTA. So let's take a look at the results of the second Sport Specials race of the weekend. It was Ben Shoulders that again took the win by 5.9 seconds from Class A winner Clive Hudson. Paul Boyd and Rob Johnston were 3rd and 4th. As far as Class B was concerned, it was Colin Benham in his STM Phoenix that took the honours. Fastest lap once again to Ben Shoulders. This time he went faster, a 1:43.66. A very full and colourful grid of cars for round 7 of the 750 Motor Club AB Performance RGB Championship. It's for road going, bike, engine, sports cars, and the cars that are dominant towards the front of the grid are the Spire GT3s, but getting in amongst them in the family-built Mattel MC52 is Scott Mattel. He's in the green, white and red car on the outside of the front row of the grid. Matthew Higginson in the green 83 Spire GT3 is on pole position. As the lights go out, the race gets underway. 13 minutes plus 1 lap. There's more than 30 cars on this grid. It's a very full field of machines that heads down towards Redgate Corner for the first time, and a mixture here of the rear-engined cars, which are Class R, the front-engine cars, which are Class F. Generally speaking, it's the rear-engine cars towards the pointy end of the field, but the action and the intensity of the battle in Class F is no less, certainly. Good start made by Matthew Higginson. He's ahead of Scott Mattel. It's John Cutmore 3rd and Alistair Bolton 4th. So the first 4 cars on the grid have held their station, as number 9 had a bit of a moment there going through Old Hairpin. That's Colin Spicer in the Fury Wildmore. Now there's a yellow flag that has gone out, and that is because the number 13 car, which is Stephen Mallion, has been stranded on the way into Redgate Corner, so he has had a mechanical breakdown, it would seem, very early on during the course of that race. In the spinner there is Andy Hiley, the former 750 Motor Club kit car champion, in his Kronos, which has been getting ever quicker. He has a moment down at the hairpin, gets going again, but he's lost quite a few places because of that. He gets going again now though. So the 2 leaders pulling away a little bit now. Matthew Higginson in the Spire, but not too far away near Chesterfield. And Scott Mattel, good to see him that far up the order in the Mattel MC52. Went very well in the first race of the season at Brands Hatch in the wet, but it's the first time that that car has really been at the sharp end in the dry. The car designed and built by Scott's father, Ian. 36 winning wide there at the exit of McLean's, has a moment and a spin, and everyone avoids him, I think, just about. That's Duncan Hall, the Coventry driver in the Spire GTR. I think he'll get going again from that, just waiting for a gap in the traffic. 49, you can see the green and red car. That's Tony Gaunt in the Wolf. This is again a car that he's put together himself. Real labour of love, and that's great to see in the 750 Motor Club. It's what it's all about. It's aimed at the amateur designer and engineer. Oh, and problems. That looks like a big blow up there for somebody. Now, is that the MNR? It possibly is. It's the 39 car of Mark Norden. Yes, the MNR LMP 2012. Looks like that's had an engine failure. Yes, there was Tony Gaunt. We were just talking about him. He's got the number 88 car behind. That's Jonathan Thackeray in the Spire GT3, who's having a look now as they go through Schwantz Curve, the left-hander. Wonder if we can make that work. As there goes, yes, that's still Mark Norden continuing around the circuit. If that's dropping oil on the track, it could be quite nasty for those that follow. I think he's got the message now. He pulls off onto the grass. Side by side as they come up to the line. This is for third position between John Cutmore on the left of your pictures. On the right, it's Alistair Bolton. And Al had his maiden overall race victory at Pembrey last time out. He was delighted by that. But he loses the place there. He's behind John Cutmore. He stays behind in actual fact in fourth position. But Al was very keen to get an overall race victory under his belt before his 40th birthday, and he did it with a couple of months to spare at Pembrey. He was jubilant about that. Helped slightly because Matthew Higginson had a 10-second penalty and couldn't unravel that. It was for a jump start before the race was red flagged due to another incident. Talking of Matthew Higginson, he's got his work cut out here. Scott Mittell keeping him very honest indeed. Problems, 452. Spinning around is the Fisher Fury of Cambridgeshire driver Daniel Bromelo. Fortunately not making contact with anything. So it's certainly an incident-packed race. And there's Tony Gaunt now having a moment. Oh, that's such a shame. It was going well, but spins right around in front of Jonathan Thackeray, who moves up another position, up into 6th now, I think he goes. It's a real shame. And on to the final lap, as into the pits has come Lee Baverstock in the AB Performance Sabre, but the Spires are going well out front. Still leading this race is Matthew Higginson. He's got a bit more daylight between himself and Scott Mittell now as they make their way through Fogarty. Tony Gaunt after his spin. Oh, I was just about to say we joined in front of Colin Chapman, but now he's had another moment up at McLean's and he's got the front wheels buried in the gravel. That's going to be very difficult for him to get out of that. Out of Goddard for the final time then comes number 83, Matthew Higginson, to take victory. He's had a good start to the season. He's had 3 wins already this year. Make that 4 now because he's won round 7 of the championship. Oh, and off! And off goes Colin Spicer, number 9. Now that's under yellow flags for that car that had already gone off of Tony Gaunt. So I should think the observers might take a slightly dim view of that because when the yellow flags are out, you need to be in control of your car. Here are the results of that first race of the weekend for the AB Performance RGB Championship. 1.33 seconds the gap between Higginson and Mittell. Cutmore 3rd and Bolton 4th. Winning Class F, Stephen Bell in his Silver Striker ahead of Paul Rickers and Austin Greenway, who was in 10th place overall. We're into the second half of the AB Performance RGB Championship season now because this is round 8 of 14. On pole position this time it's Scott Mittell, Higginson next to him, then Bolton and Cutmore on row 2. There are a few gaps on the grid. There is race 1 Class F winner Stephen Bell. He gets away quite nicely ahead of Paul Rickers, number 42. There's gaps next to him where Andy Hiley and Colin Spicer were missing. But a good start by Matthew Higginson from the outside of row 1 and he's beat the pole position man Scott Mittell, the school teacher, into Redgate Corner for the first time. Rest of the field making their way through then. And it is Higginson that leads. Mittell second. Bolton there has managed to hold on to 3rd position ahead of John Cutmore. Cutmore in one of the Worksman Spires. Bolton with a family spun effort. All the field making their way through. There's the number 12 car, which is David Watson in his MNR Vortex. Another regular in the AB Performance RGB Championship. There's Tony Gaunt, number 49, after a somewhat adventurous first race, which he did, I think, eventually get to the end of. He managed to pull his Wolf TG02 out of the gravel and get to the checkered flag. There goes Bolton then, and it's a bit of a gap back actually to John Cutmore this time. Possibly he's made a bit of a mistake. Paul Rogers was there in 5th, Jonathan Thackeray 6th, Tony Gaunt is 7th, and a very good 8th for Stephen Bell. He is ahead this time of some of the Class R cars, including Colin Chapman, who went well in the earlier race to finish 7th overall in his BDN. There's 42 Paul Rickers just ahead of Lee Baverstock, who failed to finish the earlier race. So Chapman going through picture, then Stephen Bell, Tony Gordon just tucked in behind him is David Whale, another of the Spies, car number 25. Whale having a look down the inside of Tony Gaunt there, can't make it through. To Hollywood they go, still Stephen Bell in car number 86 ahead. Austin Greenway has been the man to beat and leads Class F this season. Paul Rickers, though, before this weekend had taken 2 wins. Stephen Bell's win earlier on was his first of the season as far as Class F was concerned. He's under pressure here for an overall position now from Tony Gaunt, but points are scored within each individual class. Class F for the front engine cars, Class R for the rear engine cars. Your overall finishing position doesn't actually make any difference to your championship points haul. So I would think Stephen Bell will be a little bit more concerned about Paul Rickers, the blue car number 42, that is just a couple of cars behind him. There's Austin Greenway now. He has been the man to beat so far this season. He's had 4 wins, 2 at Brands and then 1 each at Snetterton and Pembrey. Not quite going to plan for the man who drives the Gen 1. There's Watson again in the number 12 car, the MNR Vortex. The blue machine, someone else running out wide a little bit. A couple of cars running 4 wheels over the white lines on the way out of Redgate Corner that time. A little bit frowned upon is that. You can see Greenway, number 4, trying to make some progress up through the field. There's a mistake there, that's Duncan Haller again, number 36. You can see the black cross on the yellow background, which indicates that he's still in his first few races, still getting a little bit of experience. Number 72 is in trouble. That is Ian Kempson in the MK Stealth ZX10. Oh, 3 abreast down into Redgate that time. The 22 car is involved of Robert Grant. That's the purple silver Phoenix. Austin Greenway is there as well. That battle, great battle it is too, amongst the front engine cars, heading up towards the hairpin at Goddard. The number 7 car of James Walker also involved. That's another of the STM Phoenixes. Lots of outbraking trying to be achieved here at Donington Park this weekend, with the addition of 2 hairpins to the layout compared to the normal national configuration. Oh, now is that a problem for Austin Greenway? A bit of smoke there. Now was that just from a lock-up, or is there a problem with the car? Number 83, Matthew Higginson, out of Coppice Corner, but look at this fight for second place now, because Scott Mittell has Alistair Bolton right with him. In the earlier race, Mittell took the fight to the outright leader, but this time he's under threat from the Pembrey race winner, number 2, Alistair Bolton, the Gloucestershire man. Out of Fogarty they've come, heading down towards Melbourne Hairpin. This race heading towards its conclusion. It's the left-hand driving position for Scott Mittell, as opposed to the more usual right-hand driving position. Double low-cost champion in the past has been Scott Mittell, whereas Al Bolton has been the man to beat in the front-engine class of the RGB Championship for quite a few years now, switching to the rear-engine division for this season in the Spire. Up and over the line they come. Mittell holds second for the moment. There's John Cutmore, a slightly muted race by his standards, in 4th position. He'd won twice coming into this weekend at Brands Hatch and Snetterton. This is our Class F leader, number 86, Stephen Bell. Out of the hairpin he comes, just in between Colin Chapman with the new bodywork on his BDN S2. You can see the addition at the back of the car there. Slightly enforced after an off at Snetterton in testing, but in actual fact it seems to be working out quite well for Colin since he's run with that on his car at Pembrey and now at Donington Park this weekend. Ian Kempson from a kit car race, you can see there in number 72, just being lapped by Colin Chapman. And Stephen Bell is about to put a lap on him as well, our Class F leader. On to the final lap of the race goes Matthew Higginson in his Spire GT3. As a spin, and that is for the number 21 car, Kelvin Rawls in his Wolf, the second of the Wolves. Well, that car was actually a flame in the free practice session this morning, and a lot of hard work has been done to get Kelvin Rawls onto the grid for this second race of the weekend. He didn't make the first one, but good to see him out in this race 2 of the weekend. There's number 77 pulling off as well. That's Philip Leatherby in the Mach 1. As Higginson, car number 83, the man from Chorley in Lancashire, turns his way out of Goddard, and he's the first double winner this season in the AB Performance RGB Championship. Scott Mittell clings on to second, and Alistair Bolton third position. John Cutmore takes fourth amongst the rear-engined cars. Confirmation of the win for Matthew Higginson by a shade under 5 seconds, but there was only less than a second between Scott Mittell and Alistair Bolton, and John Cutmore in fourth. As far as Class F was concerned, Stephen Bell, an excellent 8th overall. Second in Class F was Paul Rickers in 11th. David Watson, a fine 12th, after Austin Greenway, who was among the retirements. Well, join us after the break for more action from Formula V. Welcome back to Donington Park. Before we go back to Formula V, let's have a look at the 750 Motor Club CarTech Roadsports Endurance Series with Track Driver combined with the SR and GT Challenge. A varied grid of cars with a 45-minute race ahead of them. The red lights go out and away we go. Good start made from the outside of the front row there by John Dixon in the Cobra replica, but an even better start made by John Wilson in the MGB GT V8. Both of those from the Sports Racing and GT part of the entry, but we're also interested in the Road Sports grid as well. It's the third race for the 750 Motor Club's new Road Sports initiative. It debuted at Snetterton, where that man, Ulrich Kitson, took the Road Sports win, although one of the SR and GT cars took the outright honours. Normally the plan will be that the Road Sports grids will race on their own, but on occasion they are being joined by the SR and GT cars. It makes for a very varied field indeed. There is the number 96 car of Nicholas Perks. He started on the second row of the grid. He shares that car with J.M. Littman, who races in the Porsche Boxster Championship. Down to the hairpin for the first time then, and it is John Wilson that leads. Ulrich Kitson in that V6 engined Toyota MR2 is second. In third place, it's the Cobra of John Dixon, and the rest of the field making their way through. You can see the BMW Z3 of Matt Cherrington there, but the car being started in this race by Sean Cooper, his teammate, and that fantastic Ford GT40 replica of Mark Bowd goes through shot as well. Well, this isn't a scheduled pit stop, but before the pit stop window, but Ian has come the number 40 car, Charles Best in his Westfield 11, and also as well car 62, Ian Wilson in his Lotus Europa. So a couple of drivers possibly experiencing problems in the early part of this 45-minute race. Pit stops have to be taken between 15 and 30 minutes, and the drivers changed over. If there's just one driver in a car, and the driver has to have a stop of at least 1 minute. And out of the race has gone Nicholas Perks, I'm afraid, in that Boxster number 96. He's well and truly beached in the gravel trap. Yellow flags are out. And so is the 750 Motor Club safety car being driven by Craig Emerson this weekend. And he is heading the race leader through the right-hander at McLean's. And that race leader is, of course, John Wilson in the MGB GT V8. Well, now we can have some scheduled pit stops, and this is the man that won the last Road Sports race, Rob Horsfield in car 67. And a change there in one of the other cars on the grid. That's the Triumph TR5 of Oliver Petch and Chris Petch. It was Chris Petch that started that car. John Wilson's been into the pits, goes back out again. Got that all done during the course of this safety car period. Meanwhile, a retirement it would appear for the number 54 car. Certainly a problem for Robert Frost in his Dax Tagero. Oh, and now having handed over the car to Oliver Petch, there has been an off for the number 68 Triumph TR5. He joins the circuit, spreading gravel behind it. Safety car lights are out. The race about to get back underway then. And Mark Bowd in the GT40 has found his way to the head of a smallish group that's lined up behind the safety car. He promptly then drives into the pit lane for his mandatory pit stop. So it looks like the Porsche Boxster of Chris Valentine is the first car through. But because of the pit stops, the order will take a few moments to shake out. There's the 35 car of John Dixon in the Cobra. And then you can see Matt Sherrington, I think that now is, in the BMW Z3 as well. As the number 30 car, which is the one being shared by Amy Hoffman and Claire Rutherford, one of the MR2s of course. Tall and Taller Racing is the entrant of car number 55, which is the Bagnall brothers, Alex and Rory, both of them well over 6 foot, and how they squeezed themselves into a Mark 1 MR2, I'm not quite sure. Down to the hairpin then comes number 35, John Dixon. There is the man that is in second place, John Wilson now. So somehow John Dixon has got himself into the lead of this race, and it looks like John Wilson's back to second, ahead now of Ulrich Kitson. And that's the third place car, isn't it? That's Neil Plant in his Cougar Jaguar. Now John Wilson going very slowly indeed. He is having some kind of problems. Seems to be going okay down the straight, but possibly not quite as quick through the corners. Kitson the back stepping out of the car there. Gets a couple of wheels onto the dirt and the grass, but can keep going. Losing a little bit of time though. Top Roadsports competitor at the moment. Roadsports split into 3 classes based on power to weight ratios. But it looks like it's going to be an SRGT car that takes the overall win this time, but not this man John Wilson, number 27, because he is in second place. That is the man who is in the lead, and it is number 35, John Dixon in the Cobra replica. He comes up to the line and takes the checkered flag. And there's the third place car. That's Neil Plant in the Cougar. He's a lap down on the race leader, but ahead on track of John Wilson, who's actually finished in second position. And who's going to be the first of the Roadsports cars home? Well, as John Wilson does now come through to complete his race, it looks like it's been Rob Horsfield that has beaten Ulrich Kitson to the line. John Dixon beat John Wilson by 53 seconds in the end. Neil Plant a lap down in third. Rob Horsfield got the better of Ulrich Kitson in the Roadsports Scrub, while Class B went to Patrick Mortel and Simon Phillips, and Class C to the Bagnall brothers. The second race of the weekend for the Tillotson Formula V Championship. This then is round number 8. The grid determined by second fastest time setting qualifying this morning. So Paul Smith and Graham Gant on the front row, and Gant did get back to 9th place in the earlier race. Martin Farmer and Daniel Pitchford on row 2. Ian Jordan and Keith Ferrance on row 3. Final car coming into position, that's Ben Maludi, who finished the earlier race in 14th position. Green flag at the back then. 13 minutes plus 1 lap of action ahead of us. Out go the lights, away we go. Better start this time by Martin Farmer from the second row of the grid. Didn't drop back like he did quite seriously in the earlier race, but it is Paul Smith that has the lead. Graham Gant holds second in the WEV Worm's Eye View, and in third place Martin Farmer's Peter Belzy pushed out wide at the first corner there in the Spider, running all over the curve and all over the grass at Redgate Corner. That's cost him a little bit of time. A little bit of rough and tumble on the first few corners of this Tillotson Formula V race. Down towards the old hairpin they go. That's Craig Pollard, number 92, tucked in behind the other gack of 59 Keith Ferrance. Wing car of Peter Belzy in the thick of that as well. Up into McLean's though goes our race leader, and no prizes for guessing who it is. It's Paul Smith, a side by side for second and third position now. Martin Farmer in the black car, Graham Gant in the yellow car. Gant holds on up into Coppice corner. The next through is Ian Jordan. The next through is Daniel Pitchford, and there's chaos further back. Up, I could see Craig Pollard, I beg your pardon, getting airborne. Ben Anderson has gone flying through the gravel. Craig Pollard in his black car has ended up quite deep into the gravel trap there. As for second place, it's side by side, and Martin Farmer does this time go through. Well, let's get a replay of what we saw happening up at Coppice corner. This is on board with Peter Belzy trying to go up the inside of Ben Anderson and Craig Pollard. I think Pollard managed to come across somehow in front of Ben Anderson. We didn't see quite how. And then he tangled with Peter Belzy. And then Anderson was scurrying through the gravel trap as well. This is the view from outside. So we're just looking a little bit further back. Yeah, somehow Pollard just managed to tag the front of Anderson's car. Ian Buxton, you could see going through picture as well in his number 7 car. Good to see him back out on the grid for this one. Had to trip down to Simon Hadfield's workshop just down the road to get some welding done between qualifying and the race. He missed the earlier contest. That's some of Craig Pollard's bodywork, about to retrieve by one of our eager marshals. Well, Peter Belzy, involved in the thick of that then, makes his way along the Wicklow straight, but hand in the air, problem for Peter Belzy. Something has broken on his car, he's realised that, possibly after that contact with Craig Pollard up at Coppice corner, and the Spider is out of the race. The man who was third in the race early on today is eliminated, I'm afraid. So Paul Smith leading, Martin Farmer second, Graham Gant third, then fourth and fifth the two cars closest to camera. They're Ian Jordan and Daniel Pitchford. There is the aforementioned Paul Smith in the AHS Dominator, the car put together by Alan Harding's team, based in Leicestershire, on home territory then. And the next car through you can see is Keith Farrance, I think, in 6th place. Just running on his own now after being involved in the thick of a scrap early on. And looks like there's a retirement there for number 17, Daniel Burton. That's another of the AHS cars, it's the Challenger. And somehow he's conspired to end up half in the gravel trap and half out. Side by side then between Pitchford and Jordan here. Jordan in that Class B car, which holds on to the moment for 4th position. He's had various success in Formula V down the years as Ian Jordan. He's been racing in it for quite some time now. Just tend to keep drivers interested over a number of seasons. But Jordan turning his way through McLean's just ahead of Pitchford now, who's proving to be a bit of a nuisance to Jordan. Pitchford, as we said, went on the Snetterton 200 circuit. Now they're coming into this yellow flag zone because there's the recovery going on of Craig Pollard's car, and so drivers just having to just slow down into that yellow flag zone. Well, at some point earlier in this race, Steve O has lost the front nose section of his AHS Dominator. Steve O was actually leading the championship going into the Pembrey race weekend, but Paul Smith defeated Martin Farmer in both races there. The podium was 2 for Ben Anderson and Ian Buxton at the South Wales circuit. Talking of Ian Buxton, here he is now, well involved in this scrap with Tim Probert and Steve O as well. Some of the more experienced drivers in the championship doing battle here, turning their way through the right-hander at Coppice corner now. Ooh, and it's Buxton who's off into the gravel trap, kicking up the dust. Now is he going to be able to drive out of there? I think he's, you know. Yep, Ian Buxton's going to rejoin the circuit. They've lost a few positions though. A change for 4th position down at the Melbourne hairpin, and it's Daniel Pitchford now that's ahead of Ian Jordan. So car 35, the white car, goes past number 10, which is Jordan. The Lee Stone of Pitchford is up to P4, rounding the left-hander at Goddard hairpin. Jordan's not going to give up here though, it's not in his nature. Dives out of the slipstream now to the left-hand side of the circuit, so Pitchford making him drive around the outside if he's going to get through at Redgate corner. He's alongside, but no, he can't quite do it. So Pitchford for the moment holds on to 4th place. Through Hollywood they'll now go. There's back markers up ahead as they make their way down the Craner curves. Not too far behind them is Keith Farrance in 6th position, possibly closing in a bit. It's Martin Snary in the number 31 car that they are about to pass. That's the Shane. They do so. Old Hairpin, he keeps well out of the way, but there'll be more blue flags at the next marshal's post. There they are, as the leaders come up to lap the 22 car of Greg O'Shea. Oh, and contact! And Pitchford spins, and so too off onto the grass goes Greg O'Shea with damage to the front of his car. He goes over the track and skitters off into the gravel. And the 4th place man making contact there with the back marker as he tried to go through. Let's just look at the replay. Well, the blue flags were out to warn Greg O'Shea that the faster cars were coming through, but Dan Pitchford tried to squeeze through on the inside there at Schwantz Curve. And there was damage, I'm afraid, to both cars, both of them out of the race. Well, that's just one of the perils, really, isn't it, of having to lap slower cars. Here's our race leader then, Paul Smith. He's on his final lap of the race. There's Martin Farmer in second place. He's not too far behind, but actually a bit further behind than he was earlier on in the race. Farmer has been giving Paul Smith a reasonably hard time during the course of this 13-minute plus 1 lap encounter. There's Martin Snary's car. He too is a retirement. Rhys Bennett in car number 90, another of the Shanes for the young man from Bournemouth. That is now lapped by the race leader as well, Paul Smith. In this 8th round of the Tillotson Formula V Championship, which is about to come to an end. Can this be the 6th win from 8 races this season? He won 10 last year as well, did Paul Smith. Checkered flag is out. The result is not in doubt. Paul Smith wins again at Donington Park, and Martin Farmer takes 2nd position. 3rd place now goes the way of Graham Gant in the WEV. Much better result for him after the disappointment of earlier on. So, confirmation of that victory for Paul Smith by 1.6 seconds over Martin Farmer, who got the fastest lap of the race, 1:46.32, and an extra point for that. Gant was 3rd, Ian Jordan 4th. Keith Farrance promoted to 5th after the demise of Daniel Pitchford. Steve O completing the top 6 positions. So Paul, another win, that's 6 from 8 races now. Besides Snetterton, it's gone really well.
Yeah, it's a good start to the year. That one was a little bit harder than the one before. I had Martin chasing me the whole time, so and very hot. But yeah, 6 out of 8, I'm not complaining.
Absolutely, so sort of more than halfway through the season now. I guess it's just about maintaining this form throughout the rest of the year. Yeah,
I'll just take every race as it comes. Like, it's easier to do that and try to go out, win every race, and whatever happens. You get Snetterton again, and it's all back again.
Yeah, it just goes to prove you've got to get the points on the board just in case you get another weekend like Snetterton.
Right, exactly. I mean, Snetterton was a disaster and sort of worked all night long to get it going and ended up missing both rounds. So, you know, and Martin's finished 2nd pretty much all the time. So it's pretty close still. Well,
Martin, I think you got fastest lap in that race and you were really chasing Paul down.
Didn't know about the lap, so that's good. We changed the carb. That was the problem with stalling. It definitely wasn't my fault. And the car ran better, and it was good to. We could have been a little bit quicker, I think, but it's good to be back there.
But Graham Gant was giving you a really hard time as well. You changed positions a few times.
Yeah, it was a bit frustrating, to be honest. I mean, I can't expect him not to race me, but I was really relying on tagging onto Paul straight away. Maybe we could have raced him, so I think that really spoilt the race, but what can you do?
Excellent, thank you, Martin. Cheers. 3rd position, and I guess a bit of a happier race than the one earlier today.
Yes, getting off the line was a novelty, I must say, because the same problem happened to us at Snetterton, my previous race, and we've had some problems and ignition problems. Managed to put in place a repair, if you like, that would get us out of trouble if it happened again, and we didn't need it, so that's really good news. So hopefully we cured it now. So
absolutely, a really good race with Martin Farmer. Then you must be very pleased to have a dice with someone like Martin, who's been a champion twice in recent seasons.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very different when you're this near the front. It's the first time I've really managed to race at the front, and every little error you make punishes you badly, and that was, he got away from me eventually, but I must admit, the last couple of laps I'm thinking, I'll take 3rd place, thank you. We'll not push it any further.
Is Donington a circuit that you particularly enjoy?
I certainly something happened last year. We did some work last year, and all of a sudden the car worked much better, and that's carried forward to this race. Went backwards slightly on some setups after the Snetterton last race, and now we're hopefully competitive again. So we're hoping to build on that. We'll see how it goes at the next one.
Well, that's all we've got time for here at Donington Park. I hope you've enjoyed the racing. Join us again next time when we'll be at Rockingham. For now, from all of us here, it's goodbye.